The moment exploded without warning, like the world cracking in half, glass and wood flying through the diner as if time itself had panicked and lost control. 1 second there was the hum of cheap neon lights and the smell of fries, and the next there was a sound so violent it felt physical, punching the air, rattling bones, stealing breath. In that split second, instinct took over, and a boy who had never been a hero in his own mind threw himself forward, wrapping his body around a girl he barely knew, becoming a shield without thinking about the cost. Before the story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and ordinary people stepping up when it matters most, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Stories like this live because people like you believe they matter. His name was Evan Cole, and until that night, his life had been a quiet collection of disappointments, small efforts, and uncelebrated endurance. He was the kind of kid teachers described as capable but unfocused, the kind of young man who always seemed one wrong turn away from giving up. He worked the late shift at a warehouse and stopped at the same roadside diner every night, not because he loved the food, but because it was warm, predictable, and cheap. That night, he sat in a cracked vinyl booth, staring at his hands, thinking about how little they seemed to accomplish in the world. Across from him sat a girl named Lily, though at that moment she was just another stranger sharing a table because the diner was crowded. She had kind eyes that carried exhaustion and a softness that felt out of place in a world that seemed determined to grind people down. They hadn't talked much, just the awkward politeness of two tired souls passing time in the same space. Evan noticed she kept glancing toward the windows, as if expecting trouble to come crashing through the glass. Trouble did come, just not the way anyone expected. A violent impact shattered the front window, sending shards across the diner like frozen rain. Panic ripped through the room. People screamed. Plates smashed. The sound of splintering wood echoed like a gunshot. Evan didn't know what the threat was, didn't know if there was more coming, didn't know anything except that Lily was frozen, eyes wide, body locked in fear. Without thinking, without planning, he lunged across the table, knocking it aside, pulling her down and covering her with his body as debris rained over them. Pain followed immediately. Glass cut into his back. Wood slammed against his shoulder. His head struck the floor hard enough to make stars bloom behind his eyes. But he stayed there, arms locked around her, heart pounding like it was trying to escape his chest. In that moment, Evan wasn't a warehouse worker or a drifting kid with no direction. He was a wall between danger and someone else's life. When the chaos finally slowed, the diner was unrecognizable. Booths were destroyed, food scattered across the floor, and the air was thick with dust and fear. Sirens wailed in the distance. Evan tried to move and felt fire shoot through his side. Blood soaked through his hoodie. Lily was crying silently beneath him, her face pressed into his chest, her hands gripping his jacket like it was the only solid thing left in the world. People pulled them apart gently. Someone shouted for help. Someone else pressed napkins against Evan's wounds. He barely registered any of it. His ears rang. His body shook. But when he saw Lily sitting upright, shaken but alive, something inside him settled. Whatever happened next didn't matter as much. That was when the doors opened again, not with violence, but with a presence so heavy it seemed to bend the room. A group of men entered, leather jackets, tattoos, faces carved by years of hard choices and harder consequences. At their center was a man with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. The air shifted when he walked in, conversations dying instantly, fear giving way to something deeper, more instinctive. This was Lily's father. Evan didn't know it yet, but the man scanning the wreckage was the vice president of a notorious motorcycle club, a man whose name carried weight in places Evan had never been and never wanted to go. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't threatening. He was silent, and that silence was terrifying. His eyes landed on Lily, and for the first time, the mask cracked. Relief flooded his face as he crossed the room and dropped to his knees beside her. Then his gaze shifted to Evan. Bloodied, shaking, barely conscious, Evan met those eyes and felt smaller than he ever had. He expected anger. Suspicion. Something dark and dangerous. What he saw instead was calculation, and beneath it, something like respect. The truth came out quickly. Witnesses spoke. Security footage played on a cracked monitor behind the counter. The footage showed Evan's movement, the instant decision, the way he covered Lily without hesitation. There was no doubt about what he had done. He hadn't known who she was. He hadn't known who her father was. He hadn't known anything except that someone needed protection. Evan spent the night in the hospital, stitched up and exhausted, his body aching in ways that would take weeks to fade. He expected nothing more than a bill he couldn't afford and a memory that would haunt him. What he didn't expect was a visitor the next morning. The man arrived alone, without his entourage, without his armor. He stood at the foot of the bed, hands folded, eyes steady. He didn't threaten. He didn't offer money. He offered something rarer. He offered gratitude, the kind that comes from a parent who almost lost everything. That moment changed Evan's life, not because of power or fear, but because someone finally saw him clearly. Not as a screw-up or a background character, but as a person who had made the right choice when it counted. The men didn't pull strings or drag Evan into a world he didn't belong in. Instead, he quietly connected him with opportunities, mentors, and support, making sure Evan had a chance to build something better, something honest. Months passed. Evan healed. He enrolled in night classes, found steadier work, and slowly rebuilt his confidence. Lily sent a letter, thanking him, telling him she still thought about that night, about how a stranger's courage gave her a future. Evan kept that letter folded in his wallet, a reminder that even the smallest actions can echo louder than fear. The diner was repaired. Life moved on. But something fundamental had shifted. Evan no longer walked through the world thinking he didn't matter. He had proof that he did. If this story has reached something deep inside you, if it reminded you that courage doesn't wear a uniform and heroes don't always know they're heroes, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Everyday Heroes. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below with the words, "I choose courage," and tell us what this story meant to you. In the end, Evan never became famous. He never sought recognition. He simply carried forward with the quiet knowledge that when the moment came, he didn't run. He stepped forward. And sometimes, that is more than enough to change a life, to change a family, to change a future. If this story touched your heart, please engage with it now. Your comment, your like, your share keeps kindness alive in a world that desperately needs it.